Hi, this is Dr. Mahmoud Al-Odeh, and we have a second part of Lean Six Sigma workshop. In the first part, we've talked about the importance of Lean Six Sigma as a methodology and how we have combined the two methodology, the Lean methodology and the Six Sigma methodology, in order to give us a better results. And we did talk about the principles of Six Sigma, the phases of Six Sigma, and other important features. In this video, we'll be going into more details, and we will start with the first phase of the Six Sigma, which is the define. Before we do that, what we need to do, I would like to go ahead and start with this important slide that will show you the levels of Six Sigma and the training that you need to get, and how these will impact the process improvement. So let's go ahead and start with that. So the Six Sigma level of trainings has 5 basic levels. The first one is the white belt, which not most organizations they have it, but this is for these people who have an basic understanding of Six Sigma. They know what's the DMAC phases, and they only know mainly concerned about the define phase. This is what we call them the yellow belt training. The second level is the yellow belt. The yellow belt, it has the white belt, all of the above, plus the process mapping, which we will be talking about it in more details. Process mapping includes the flow chart, the value stream mapping, and also the creating a future state map as well. In the yellow belt training, you will be getting data collection techniques, how to collect data, and charting, how to create some charts. And these usually yellow belts, they will assist with a project. Green belt. Now, in the green belt, you should have all of the above, the yellow belt and the white belt. You could be a project leader. You know the main tools of Six Sigma, such as statistical process control, ability to find the capability of a process, ANOVA statistic, regression, all this. If you could know this means that you are a green belt level. The black belt, the black belt training, you should get all the training above, starting from green belt all the way to the white belt. In additional to that, you should have an advanced statistical techniques and design of experiment. Master black belt, they will have the black belt, all of the above, and something we call design for Six Sigma and a more advanced statistical technique. Let's go ahead and start with the first phase of the Six Sigma. The first phase is the define. And for the define, we talked about the input, the tools, and the output. And what we need to do here, we need to, in order to start this process, you have to start with, why do we need this project? Do we have a sponsorship from management, executive management? Do we have a core team identified? And then in the tools here, what we need to do, we have to have an organization structure, or the hierarchy of the organization, high-level process map, high-level Pareto charts, idea generation and categorization tools such as the affinity diagram. We will be talking about these tools. Idea generation could be just brainstorming, could be just a survey, could be a focus group. In the output, once you finish with this define, you should have a project charter that shows the problem of the statement. You have the matrices that you're going to use. You will have the rules and responsibilities for each one. Let's go ahead and start with the define phase and look into more details about this. In the first one, for the need for Six Sigma, in this step, what we need to do, we need to know how we could improve the customer satisfaction. We need to look into the process and process improvement. Should we do a major improvement, or just a minor change would take care of the issue? Our goal should be decreasing the defects and errors in any product or services. Also, as well, we need to look into decreasing the costs. Creating long-term is the goal for this phase. We need to have a long-term solutions, not the temporary solutions that will be working for a week or shorter. We need a long-term that will stay with us to be able to reduce the cost and improve quality. So this is why we need it. We need exactly to know why do we need it? What's our goal of implementing Six Sigma project. The second input for the define phase is the executive management sponsorship. We need to have some sponsorship from management in order to be able to achieve the goals. And the executive or senior management will provide high level needs. That's will be coming from the top. They will give us all the resources, the money, the human force that we need. They will give us the financial support. Also, what they would do, they will help us to remove any obstacles and roadblocks when we working with other groups and other departments. So they will coordinate the work for us. In addition to that, they will motivate and support to initiate and sustain, not only initiate it, but also to sustain, to keep these improvements going into the futures. So the sponsorship and the support from executive management, it's really important. We need it. Otherwise, this Six Sigma project will not work. It has to come with a sponsorship. The sponsorship has to provide all the resources needed, have to remove all the roadblocks from your way, and your team could achieve the work and could achieve the goals. Another input for the define, we need to identify the team. Who's going to work on this project? What's the responsibilities? And we have to look into this into more details here. We have to have a project manager. We have to have a Six Sigma expert. We have to have other people who's working on the team. Starting with a project manager. A project manager should be responsible for coordinating the activities for project. Project manager has the knowledge or project management methodology. They have to have the project management methodology, what the tools they use, timeline, schedule, if they're behind on the schedule, how they do it. Read the material, read the tool, read the project charter. Project manager, they are responsible for project deliverables based on the project charter. And they have to maintain the cost within the limits, within the budget, within the time. They have to minimize the risk. They have to provide the resources and manage the resources in order to achieve the project. Another important team member is the Six Sigma expert. And the Six Sigma expert, we prefer to have at least green belt in order to manage these projects. And we need somebody to understand the Six Sigma methodology. So they could serve between like the communicator and the liaison between the Six Sigma black belt, master black belt, and the team themselves. We need somebody to be able to interact, have the knowledge, and willing to share their knowledge with other departments such as finance and human resources as well. We may be involved, this person might be involved with some technical advice, and this person has to have the knowledge in Six Sigma methodology. Additional resources other than the project management manager and the Six Sigma expert, we need sometimes to include um, some assignment to the core team. In this example, some examples include people with intimate knowledge of the process under study and subject matter expert. Organization structure or organization hierarchy. This is really important because we need to identify the level that we're working with. Six Sigma projects require a lot of information and may need to engage several people from the organization. And we need to be careful on how we could deal with these people based on their responsibilities, based on their level in the organization. It is preferable for a Six Sigma project team to have an access to the human resources team of the company and get an idea on their organization structure and organization hierarchy and competencies of the different individuals. And why this is important? Because by knowing the person rule, you could manage your project around the rules. Once you know that person strength and weaknesses, you are able to achieve your goal for the Six Sigma. So it is really important to be familiar who the rules and who's managing the organization and the different levels in the organization. Now, moving into the tools that we're going to use to implement the Six Sigma, the define phase. The first tool that we need to look at it's the process map. The process map, it's really simple and easy tool to track the flow, the workflow through the company organization. It is a graphic representation of a process. It's a picture. So it is really nice to see the process, the flow of the process through a picture. And also in that picture, you will see the sequence of tasks and the relationship between these tasks. Is really important in a simple way. Will give you a better idea on what the process look like. It will show you if there's any value added or non-value added activities through the process. It is really important to share this with your team because they will be able to better understand the process through a picture, through a graph. The graph shows the relationship between the different processes. And at the beginning, in the define phase, we're not asking into a detailed process map. We're asking to create a high-level process map that shows the major processes. Later on, you will be adding to that and provide more details. Why we use this? What's the benefit of using the process map? Helps clarify several processes, the steps, and processes, the flow. We need to understand the steps and the flows of the process. So everyone will be on the same page. Everybody will be clear, understood the flow of the process. It helps all members of the team gain appreciation of the work being done by others, and visually shows the various alternatives possible and helps in selecting an appropriate solution. As I mentioned earlier, it's really important because it will tell you if there is a room for improvement in the process. It will show you if there is a value added or a non-value added in the process. It's very powerful tool to use at the beginning of any Six Sigma project because it will help you to define the problem, locate the problem, better understand the process, as well as you and your team will be on the same page. Okay, let's talk about the different shapes of the flow charts or the process map. Okay, so we'll start with the first one, the triangle. The triangle, it's a symbol that we use it to represent the work in progress. Inventory could be used as a triangle. The arrow represents the directions of flow in the process map. The rectangle represents the process itself. The diamond will represent the decision steps. Yes or no? Do we have, for example, do we have something in the inventory? Do we have a raw material inventory? Yes. If yes, go send it to manufacturing. If no, you issue a purchasing order so you could buy more raw material. The oval shape will represent the start or stop of the process map. Also, it will show you if there is if the map will continue to another page. Okay, now here's the steps for creating the process map. What you need to do first, put the cross-functional team on and start looking into the process. You should have at least subject matter expert who are able to create the process map. Second, try to find out existing process maps which may already be existence in the company. So they might created the flow chart before your project. So if you have it, that would be great to take a look at it. Next, map all the as-is high-level process. So all you need to do is just observe to the process and create the map. This will create an awareness within the team about the process. And this is what we call as-is process map or the current process map. Once you created the as-is process map, you share it with the team and ask him if there's any opportunity for improvement. Based on input from the team, you will be creating to be process map or what we call the future process map. The second tool that we'll be using in the define is the Pareto chart, and this is based on the 80-20 rule, which means that 20% of the problems can be solved by 80% of the effects. 20%, small number of the causes, 20% is responsible for a large percentage of 80% of them. Again, 20% of the problem will be able to give you an improvement of 80% in your work. And the Pareto charts basically will highlight the high-level issues that you have. And this will give you just to focus on this, the 20% of these problems. By solving the 20% of the problems, you will be able to improve 80% of your improvement, 80% of your quality, 80% of your efficiency. So just focusing on the 20%, that will help you to be able to identify the opportunities where will help you to maximize the benefit. How to create the Pareto charts? Again, you have to have your team, cross-functional team. Look into what data you need to gather. Once you gather the data related to the problem, use the check sheet. Just a tally sheet. How many times we have a defects here? And record the total number in each category. Categorize will be the types of defects or non-conformities. Number 5, determine the total numbers of non-conformities and calculate the percentage. All you need to do is total the number of the defects and calculate the percentage. Determine the cost associated with the defects. Number 7, select the scales of the chart. Y-axis scales are typically the number of occurrences, number of defects, dollar loss per category, or percentage. the x-axis, you will display the category of the defects. Number 8, draw Pareto charts by organizing the data from the largest category to the smallest. Number 9, analyze the chart and look into the largest bar, represent the vital few problems. Okay, right here, there are not a lot of application here, but if you took the quality assurance TEDT 4878, you will be able to create the Pareto charts. However, I'm not asking you to create it at this time. I need you to be familiar with the Pareto charts. You could please read more about Pareto charts and the application of Pareto charts from the American Society for Quality. Go to asq.org and search Pareto charts, and you will find a lot of information about the Pareto charts and how to create the Pareto charts. The nice thing about these days, there are a lot of templates provided by ASQ. If you Google Pareto charts template, you will find a lot of templates that you could use it to create the Pareto chart. But it's really important to be able to create it. At this time, for this, we're not going to really focus on this. We're going to focus into a more advanced knowledge to be able to prepare you for the Lean Six Sigma certifications. But please, if you're not familiar with the Pareto charts, please go read more from the ASQ website. Okay, the next tool is the idea generation. And there are a lot of tools that we could do to generate ideas. Let's start with the brainstorming. And this is basically getting together with your team and start brainstorming about ideas, solutions. And this will take basically between 15 minutes to 1 hour. It's a short time period just to brainstorm. Next, once you're brainstorming, you need to organize these ideas. So what you use the affinity diagram. Affinity diagram will organize these into categories and groups. And then once you are having all these ideas organized, you need to vote on these. So what you do is you ask your team, okay, this is what we call the multi-voting. Vote on which one you think would be the best solution. And you give the person the opportunity to vote on these. And there are several ways for voting. You could give more than one vote. Each person could have more than one vote, or just only one vote. Number 4 for collecting information and ideas, it's by surveys. You send a survey for your customers or for your department, for your team, to be able to identify some ideas and use some statistics. Another way for collecting ideas is focus group. Bring group of people together, between 7 to 13 participants, and ask them about what they think of XYZ, a service that you provide or a product that you're planning to improve. The next tool is a Kano model. The Kano model is a really important model that will divide the customer satisfaction into 4 quarters. And in each quarter, will tell you if these are the basics, if this is just met or exceeded the customer satisfaction. So there are a lot of information you can get from the Kano model based on the customer behavior and what their expectation for your service. Also, this is a really important model that I want you to read about it. There are a lot of information on ASQ website to read it. If you took the quality assurance class, you will be able to know what you will be able to create a Kano model for a process or for a service that you provide. Nominal group technique is another way to collect ideas, and this is basically a structured method for group brainstorming suggestions, which discussed and prioritized by the entire group using a point system. So there's a more the brainstorming and multi-voting is not a formal. The nominal NGT, the nominal group technique, it's a more structured technique for brainstorming and selecting ideas based on point system, and that will help you to prioritize these ideas. Why is it important? Idea generation is really important because we need to collect information. We need to collect ideas on how to find room for improvement, to find ways and solutions for these issues. The process helps in providing information which can be used for project selection, such as using financial measures such as the net present value, the present value, the internal rate of return, payback period, etc. These all could be helpful to reach to a decision, to financial decision. After getting input from the customer, QFD, quality function deployment, can be used. So once you collected the ideas from the customer, you could use the QFD to exactly know which feature of your product that you should focus on in order to meet the customer needs and the market needs. Well, I did provide a few slides here on brainstorming, how to do brainstorming. I'm going to leave it to you to review it. And there are a lot of rules that you could maybe read about it, how to do the brainstorming. Affinity diagram as well. I did provided some guidelines on how to create the affinity diagram. Multi-voting, it's also listed in here on how we could implement that. And now I'm going to move to the output. The output is what we need for the define phase. We need to have an output, and the first output you should have is the project charter. And if you're not familiar with this concept, this is a document that have the project name, project sponsor, the team, the purpose, the budget, the resources, the timeline, all the details about the project that you're working on. The needs for the project, the project charter as well provides the project manager with the authority to get organization resources for project activities. So this is a really important document. Before you do any Six Sigma project improvement, you should have the project charter. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to achieve your goals. What's in the project charter? You should have the objectives for the project, and these objectives should be quantifiable criteria that must be met for the project to be considered successful. The scope of the project, this is a measure of the work required to complete the project successfully. Boundaries, project boundary states explicitly what is in scope and what is out of scope, what's within my limits. So you should create the boundaries for your project. Resources, in creation of project charter, critical resources such as people, funding, should be included and negotiated as well to ensure that you have enough resources available for you. Project closer activities. Once you're done with the project, what is required to close this project? And the last thing, project transition activities. You're done the project, now you have to return it back to the team. What activities do you need? Do I have to train them? Do I have to just share information, or just I have to leave them figure it out by themselves? The project charter is a very important document which lays the foundation for the next step about the project. The next output is establishing the matrices. We have to have some matrices in order to be able to say, yes, we achieved it. And these matrices should be measurable, something that you could measure in order to measure your success for improving quality or improving the scenario. There are two categories. The matrices can be broadly categorized by primary matrices. These are the measures which the Six Sigma project primary targets to achieve, such as a specific project reducing in a cycle time. This would be an example. Consequential matrices, while trying to achieve the goals set forth by primary matrices, there may be some additional matrices which may be impacted. So look into the, first of all, what you need to do, you have to find the primary matrix, and such as the cycle time. This is the main goal. But while you're working on achieving this goal, you might see a sub or a consequential, which is basically a sub matrix, a hidden measure that you need to study as well. These are referred to as a consequential matrices, such as for a particular project where reduction in the cycle time is the primary metric. There are the added advantages such as reduction in defect rate and improvement in perceived quality by the customer. So these are the consequential matrices of the project. At a high level, most metrics can be classified into cost, cycle time, and quality. This is just the high level. We could divide them into three categories: cost, cycle time, and quality. For example, metrics like defect rate, cost of poor quality, Six Sigma level are all metrics related to quality. Establishment of metrics is very important and required for Six Sigma project because you need to identify and qualify the benefit expected from the project. Also, it will help you to clarify any ambiguous goals for the project. Roles and responsibilities. At the end of the define phase, you should have responsibilities matrix, which will include all the responsibilities or all the activities that are related to a project. Some of the rules that we need to talk about it's the executive management. These are the champion, the deployment champions. These are the sponsors. They are responsible for sponsorship of the project. Master black belt and black belts are the consultant, the expert in Six Sigma. They are responsible for providing guidance and coaching for others. Six Sigma green belts are the liaison between the black belt and the project team. They perform the operations required for the Six Sigma project. The project team members work in executing the actual work of the project through guidance from Six Sigma green belts and Six Sigma black belts. Project team members should include those who have working knowledge of the existing process. The subject matter experts, such as the finance, the human resource, you should have somebody on your team with these experts. So if you're doing a project in human resources, you should have somebody from the human resources to serve on your team to get their expertise. Project manager, who would be responsible for coordinating activities for the project. He will be responsible for the project deliverables and managing cost, scope, time, risk, human resources, and communication for the project. In order to fulfill these rules and be able to understand these rules, what you need to do, you need to create a simple matrix such as this, the rules and responsibility matrix, and showing the people who is responsible, the activity, and who are in charge of each one of these. And this is basically the end of the define phase. And now we're going to move into the second phase, which is the measure phase, but that's going to be for another video. I'd like to thank you so much, and we'll see you in another video.